Hey, today I'll make a video on operations on businesses and specifically when you're going out there and acquiring a company, expectations for you to have on operating and how active it is, how passive it is. So last probably 7 years, I've talked to loads of buyers out there in the market. We've worked with hundreds of buyers in the market, closed a little bit over $1 billion worth of transaction volume. So I know kind of the typical issues that go into operations after they close a deal, and I know a lot about expectations people have before they come to us as far as like how much time they're going to put into this and how much more involved they're going to be into it. And the rule of thumb when you're looking into buying a business is whatever you're expecting right now, you probably should cut that in half. If you're expecting but you're going to get into a company that's netting 500K in profit today, and you're expecting, but you're going to net that profit. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of debt, there's a lot of expenses, and you need to kind of be aware that you're going to make probably a third of that money, or you're going to make maybe in the best case scenario, half of that profit. Or when people come into the space and they think that they're going to come in, buy a company in between $1 million and up to $5 million in purchase price, a boring business model from a baby boomer looking to retire, and they're going to be passive completely in that business. Well, in most cases, these businesses are not fully passive. In some cases where you buy a very small laundromat and it's a little bit more automated and there's not much happening in the business, that might be the case, or a self-storage unit or something else. But in reality, when you're dealing in a typical $1 to up to $5 million company, there's going to be a team in place, there's going to be responsibilities, there's going to be clients, there's going to be suppliers, there's going to be messiness in the business, and it's not going to be, not everything's going to be without any mistakes. Like, you're going to get into that business, acquire it, and then you're going to realize there's a few more mistakes or there's a few more issues in the business that you weren't even aware of after you've done 60 days of due diligence on the company. So be aware that when you're buying a business, if you're comfortable with people and you're comfortable with challenges that are going to appear, solving them, and you're comfortable being hands-on and active solving some of these issues, and in some cases you might need to spend 20 to up to 40 hours a week managing some of these expectations, leading the team, setting up KPIs, setting up reporting systems, setting up automations, and getting from A to B. If you're comfortable with that, then you might be in a situation where you're going to be successful. Now, if you're in a situation where you have a job right now and you're looking to acquire a company and you're like, hey, look, I want to buy a business, but I don't want to be involved in it at all, and I just want to check in for an hour every 30 days, well, that's probably not the most realistic thing, because most of these businesses that eventually sell in the market in between $1 million up to $5 million in purchase price or close to that amount of capital, they typically still rely on some key employees of the company, the owner, and the owner double checks a lot of these things still up to date. That's how they got to that place. That's how they got to that revenue, is by the owner understanding a lot about the industry, understanding about their clientele, their employees, incentivizing them properly. But at the end of the day, you're going to need to be active, right? I don't think there's a lot of like the concept of like passive income in this space is not as applicable. And I think the whole passive income thing is not really applicable in any space, really. A lot of the times you're going to need to trade in your time to be able to learn a new skill set. A lot of times you're going to need to trade in time to build systems in place so that you can get leverage, so that it's easier for you later to double down and basically scale. Another way of looking at this is that even if you're doing some of the key managerial stuff or management in the business, and you're taking care of reporting, you're looking at accountability, you're looking at your key employees every day, you're giving them suggestions on what they can do, what they can improve. Maybe you're hiring somebody else to help them improve that process. Well, you can also spend your time on a second acquisition, a third acquisition, a fourth acquisitions. We've had clients that have done 15 deals, 7 deals, 10 deals in 3, 4, 5 years. right? So the fastest way typically to scale a localized business is to go all across US and go national and then buy different businesses in different locations, or buy complementary businesses, add-on businesses to the main one. So it's not just about running the day-to-day operations all the time. It's about keeping everybody in touch and understanding the main KPIs of a business and putting the right people in the right seats. But then later it's about scaling through buying a second, a third, a fourth company, and then potentially building a portfolio company and selling them to a bigger strategic buyer or a fund or family office or whoever is looking to buy a more structured business that has way better people in place, better processes in place already, and you kind of understand the business model A to Z, all the stats, all the reporting. You can prove to them that with specific tracking that this is what you're doing in revenue, these are the risks of a business and such and such. So hopefully this gives you some context on how active you could become and the reality in this space. And I think that if you're very, very selective about your criteria, you're gonna find that there's going to be a lot less deals for you in the market. But if you're going to become more flexible and you're basically going to expect challenges, and that you're going to expect that you're going to need to solve them and take a lot of responsibility for them so that you can increase your income and wealth eventually in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years, then this is a space you need to look up into. And if you have any questions, feel free to just connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer anything there. Thank you.